It's more of I've seen pods that do the thing where they just introduce the pod with just some insightful story about
Hmm.
themselves or something going on. Just a little insight in my life. Here's the story. Hmm. I don't think I have anything. So
I don't think I have anything either. We
yeah,
won't follow other podcasts. You know why?
I didn't come prepared.
Because this is Box Scores and Bourbon. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we will be talking about head coaches. We're going to be analyzing two of our favorite, maybe not so much, teams for a Mount Rushmore. We're also going to be talking some baseball because a certain someone, all hail, has hit the 300, and we need to discuss what that looks like for the future of Major League Baseball. We're, of course, going to do the schedule breakdowns, and we have another fix of six for all you great listeners. Strap in, everyone. This is an early episode. Welcome to Box Scores of Bourbon.
Look at the box scores.
Box scores
In bourbon.
We check each other's box scores and scores online.
baseball. Box scores.
So football, baseball, basketball, soccer, hockey.
Box scores and bourbon.
As we kick off the NFL season, it's a beautiful thing to be able to say football is back, folks. But I want to bring up a trade that happened yesterday and to roll it into what we're going to talk about immediately after. The Falcons yesterday traded a third round pick of the 2025 draft to the Patriots for Matthew Judon. Now, normally, not a big deal. If you're not a Falcon fan or a Patriot fan, who really cares? But here's the thing. Both of these teams are coming in with new head coaches. The Patriots obviously have Gerard Mayo. They're moving on from the historic coaching legacy of Bill Belichick after 20 plus years. And then you have the Falcons, on the other hand, who still struggle to find an identity post Matt Ryan. What I want to highlight is the direction that these two teams are going, especially in light of the two brand new head coaches that they have. Gerard Mayo in New England, Raheem Morris in Atlanta. The draft process for New England was one where they decided to take their future quarterback now, even though their team is far from going anywhere this year and probably even next year. 2026 is probably the year that they would begin to actually make some traction to be able to go anywhere, pending any great Drake May development over the course of the next 2 years. So they went ahead, they drafted, they stockpiled picks, which, essentially the Patriot way, a holdover from Belichick. They stockpiled picks. Now they're stockpiling picks again with this trade of Judon. Now the Patriots don't really have much to live off of when it comes to the offensive side of the ball or the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, if you were sure that Drake May was going to be your future at quarterback, I maybe would have done more to shore up more of that offensive line. As coming into this year, New England's got one of the lowest offensive line rankings there is. They've got their veteran guard. They've got the rollover from the Steelers coming over, and then they've got the two young guys who were there last year, and hopefully they would begin to develop and take some steps forward to be able to shore up that interior O line to keep Drake May upright. But then you go back to Atlanta. Atlanta they guaranteed $90 million over the next 2 seasons to Kirk Cousins. They have one of the best offensive lines there is, highlighted by Chris Lindstrom, who is considered the best guard in the NFL. And then you also have Drew Dalman, the center, who broke out last year and has become this great run blocker, which is fantastic for Falcon fans because you got Bijan back there in the backfield. Now, if Atlanta's got this shored up offensive line, they've got weapons on all sides. You got Bijan in the back. You got Drake. You got Darnell Mooney. You have Kyle Pitts on the end there playing both 6 offensive linemen and tight end. If you have all that, why not focus so much on the defense? Why use your top pick in this draft to go out and get a quarterback that you to back up a guy that you've already guaranteed $90 million for. And if you're not worried about him getting hurt because you have a top offensive line, why not go out and actually shore up the defense? There were plenty of guys that were left on the board by the time Atlanta picked Penix up with a huge reach back in April. But now we are at a point now where Atlanta just traded a third round pick to go get a guy who, while dominant in 21 and 22, was hurt all last year. You have no idea how a 32-year-old linebacker coming off an injury like that is going to respond in today's NFL, especially with the quickness and the speed, let alone not even knowing how much you're going to be able to use them. And now I get Atlanta's going out there. They're paying a premium for a guy who was a premium at the position not too far away ago. But I feel like this is a reach given that they swung and missed on Montez Sweat last trade deadline, and they swung and missed on guys this offseason. Now, if I'm Arthur Blank, I really want to win a championship. And if I was certain that my O-line and my weapons are going to keep Kirk Cousins upright, I probably would have thought about going elsewhere with that top pick. Now, I get the naysayers out there saying there's no reason to do this, but Atlanta's hope and their goal is Kirk Cousins takes them to the promised land multiple times, or at least high enough to where they don't have a low enough draft pick to draft a future quarterback. In that sense, yes, I get it. But if you're sitting there trying to win now, why not shore up a defense that hasn't seen a double-digit sack guy in a Dirty Bird since Vic Beasley in 2016? This defense desperately needs a linebacker, someone to pressure the quarterback, someone who can get into that backfield. Now, I know the third-round pick they sent to the Patriots for Judon, they're hoping he's the guy. I'm just not so sure that Atlanta probably they whiffed on their top pick in this past draft, when especially you have all the weapons you already have on the offensive side. So, Manny, we talked beforehand. We want to talk about first-year head coaches, and what better way to kind of bring that in than talk about the first-year teams of both Gerard Mayo in New England and Raheem Morris with ATL.
That is true. We did talk about that, and I personally have to say I like Atlanta making that trade today with the Patriots. I think they have the goal of probably trying to sign a solid veteran player to a pretty cheap contract because of the points that you just referenced. He's coming off injury. He's 32. Maybe he's close to 33 at this point. So I think the gamble is worth the third round pick personally, because he could still be a veteran presence on that defense, where we know the goal is to have a long-term build around the defensive side. They already have the pieces on the offense. They just they'll need to build the defense. And even if he's not a stellar signing, it'll be a good starting piece to have a veteran presence on that line, at least to know who can lead the rest of the young people that they're going to be bringing into that defensive side. So I think I like it.
Yeah, and I'm not against the pick. I'm not so against the pick as I was back in April. Did I deride it? Yes. Did I roll around in joys of laughter because I'm a Saints fan and they just wasted a premium pick on the guy that they're hoping not to use for 3 years? Yeah, I thought it was hilarious, especially because you had so many question marks on the defensive side of the ball. But when you have guys like Drew Dahlman and Matthew Bergeron, who are these young interior O linemen that Atlanta has, to be able to grow well past the Kirk Cousins area, and then with Penix, I think it's a good. It is a good fit just internally because Bijan's young, Drake London's young, Kyle Pitts is young. You have a young interior O line. You can grow that. You can grow together. I think that if Arthur Blank's intention is to win, I really believe that in today's NFL, when you have roaming quarterbacks now, when you have guys who, like, half of them are just they're just going to leave the pocket. You might want to so much just try to shore up at least that exterior D line, or at least have a Mike who can go out there and exert some real pressure on these quarterbacks. And so,
Well, before we continue, JB, correct your mistakes. Cheers, everyone.
cheers,
We don't
y'all.
start the episode on the wrong foot in this podcast. Cheers.
No, I'm sitting down.
What are you going to be sipping on, JB?
I am sipping on some Glimerang. I'm bringing it back. Yeah.
We are bringing it back.
And I'm smoking a warped cloud hopper. So
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
what are you drinking today?
Nice. Hopefully that one, I wouldn't expect it to go out as often as the last one you were smoking, since that one's a little bit thinner. I hope not.
No,
Go ahead. I'm twisting it up. I don't know if I'm going to slaughter how you pronounce this. It's a Symbole,
It's just simple. Stop trying to French it up, Dirt. It's just
but it's
simple.
French, so it's a Symbole. It's a Symbole National. So I'm drinking a brandy National. Sorry, Symbole National. It is a brandy de France. In homage to the Paris Olympics wrapping up, I'll be drinking a brandy on this episode, and my first sip was it has a very fruity, like pruny taste to it, which is something that I'm not used to in anything that I sip. So this will be an interesting episode to drink this through. So far, not too completely blown away by it, but it's not something that I can't drink. So we'll see how the glass goes. But going back to the conversation, let me summarize what you're trying to get at, I guess. Your problem is not with them trading for a defensive lineman. Your issue is, if you were going to make a move on defensive players, why not draft one instead of taking Penix back in April? If you knew you wanted some defensive linemen, is that your take?
Yeah, I mean, like if because this isn't a new development for Atlanta. It's not as if Raheem Morris walked into Atlanta and said, "This defense is shored up. I don't need any help here." No, you haven't had a dominant guy there since Vic Beasley, and so
and one of the recent reports that I saw, actually, I'm blanking on the names that they made pushes for, but they had been making pushes for trading for a solidified defensive lineman since before the draft. It was constant moves that they were trying to make for that. They just finally landed on one today.
Yeah, no, I mean, I absolutely. I'm not sitting there saying that they haven't tried. I'm just saying that if this all started last trade deadline when they swung and missed on Montez Sweat, who alone transformed that Bears defense. If there was something, if you starting then, if you knew that, and then you whiffed this off season, but no one took a defensive guy in the April draft. I think it's pick 13, pick 14. I think was the first defensive guy that was taken. They had their litter of picks, and hell, they could have found anyone to be able to go up there and get extra, get a first round this year, a day two this year, and then a round one next year for another team, another schlub to trade up in the top 10 to reach for a quarterback. They could have did that, and they didn't. And like I said, I could see the pros in being able to try to figure out how to shore up the position. If there's any quarterback, if there's any team out there that's looking at how to treat a quarterback room, you've been looking at the Packers for the last 30 years. You have Brett Favre. You drafted Rodgers. Rodgers was there for a decade and a half. And toward the end, you drafted Jordan Love. Jordan Love sat for a couple of years, and now Jordan Love's taken over. If you're a team, you're looking at how they do that because, like we said last week, this is a quarterback-driven league. It always has been. And so being able to find a guy, because Kirk Cousins only has one leg, he's not going to last forever. And they have such a young interior O-line. Having another young guy be able to grow with that O-line makes a ton of sense. But if you are trying to, if Arthur Blank's goal is to try to win a championship, you committed $90 million the next 2 years to a guy with an O-line and an offense that's pretty solid. Why not try to do something to shore up the defense, especially in that first round this year. But uh, but I digress. We'll see what happens this year.
We never know.
Atlanta didn't have a bad draft defensively. They drafted a
No.
bunch of guys, but it's just
Yeah.
but it's being able to see what steps they take. And this third round pick for Judon could turn out to be a steal for Atlanta because Judon could return the form. If Judon returns to 21-22 form, then this is a steal for Atlanta, an absolute steal.
Oh, yeah.
And then, but he's also
Yeah,
there to help
was
raise
I
up
was
these
gonna
new guys. Yeah,
Yeah, I was gonna say that you stole the words right out of my mouth. We don't know what Judon they're gonna get. If he could easily be the player, completely healthy, be the player that he was before the injury. He could easily get 15 sacks like he did in 22. I think it was when he got 15 sacks. So we're over here. We could be talking about them taking a different path. Necessarily could have taken a different path to try to win a Super Bowl, but he might be a solid player still that might have a lot in the tank. And then we're sitting here looking, wearing a Duns hats because he's actually could easily be the solidified force behind that defense.
could be, and which is why I'm choosing my words carefully here. I'm choosing my words carefully.
Are you?
Oh, I am. I've never been more careful with my words before.
I told you earlier, and I'll tell you again. You have been giving the Falcons heat since after the Super Bowl, and they weren't even in the Super Bowl since February. They've been getting the ugly side of you.
Well, and you know, and that's fine. Honestly, I don't care. I'm a sports fan. I'm going to call it like it is. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to say some stuff that just seems so outlandish on its face. But with this right here, I'm not a Falcons fan by any stretch. But as a football fan, as a guy who loves to watch the game play out, not only on the field but also in the box, I want to make sure that I convey to Falcons fans and other football fans in general that I don't think this is a bad trade. I think this is something that echoes some sort of a desperation. Because I think it's easily, you could have gotten Judon for a day 3 pick next year instead of a day 2 pick.
Maybe.
So because if your goal is to win not just this year but next year, being able to bring more not stars but very premium pieces into your clubhouse and on the field, keeping as many day 1 and day 2 picks as you can seems to be a pretty important part of this. I don't blame New England for getting a 3rd round pick for him because it's a steal. And let's not get it twisted. Judon, it's not like Judon just popped on the scene with New England. He was with Baltimore for years.
Right.
I think he was with Baltimore, wasn't he? Let me see. I believe he was with Baltimore for quite some time.
Yep.
Yeah.
From 16 to 20, and then England from 21 to 23.
Yeah. So it's not as if he's just like coming on the scene as he was a 30-year-old out of nowhere. He was a 29, 30-year-old with New England. He did well. He got hurt last year. I just don't know. It's not the probabilities aren't in the favor of a 32-year-old pass rusher coming off a serious injury to recapture what you did in the past. But then again, Judon could just be there. His intensity, even him playing 60, 70% of the snaps, will be very helpful, not just to that defense, but to the guys that Atlanta drafted. So this, this could play out to be, this could be a Yahtzee for Atlanta.
I think the risk is worth the reward in this case for him, especially because he's on a 1-year contract, which always sucks whenever you trade for a player and then you have to instantly turn around and sign him without knowing what you truly got.
Yeah,
but I think that's the goal that they said they had in mind.
Yeah.
They're going to already work on a contract, and the goal was to sign him into an extension before the season kicked off. Which,
they have avenues to cut guys to be able to sign him to not a vet minimum, but something that's comparable to where he is in his career. But I say all that because go ahead. Go. What are you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say, but on the opposite side, if you do get him for cheap because of the injury, then you did get a steal. In a 3rd rounder, you're not gonna find somebody of that caliber in the 3rd round.
Yeah,
most likely you're not gonna find that.
No, and then but on the other side of it, I look at New England, and it's because is New England's plan to start Drake May this year?
No, they already announced that Brissett was going to be the starter.
Okay, so Jacoby is going to start. Okay, all right,
Mm-hmm.
because
So they're in
okay,
full rebuild without the
right,
key
okay,
pieces.
all
They're
right,
full.
okay, and that makes sense because, and maybe they're sold on Drake May, and I, quite frankly, you would have to be if you spend the number 3 pick on this guy. This is this is the guy you want behind center for a long time. Their O line is so porous, but then again, to be fair, Cole Strange and was it City Sow? I think it is. They're young guards. They showed improvement last year. We'll see what they do, but I'm always a big fan of being able to shore up. Um, uh, uh, you want to strengthen the trenches before you begin to commit so much to the guy behind center, and
Agreed.
and hopefully, in New England, this is more Belichick than anything for years. Maybe New England can continue this trend of being able to bring the diamonds in the rough, these gems from late rounds, and getting this third round for Judon hopefully helps them be able to shore up. I mean, pretty much any area on this team needs to be shored
No,
up.
I don't think. I have a hard time buying into the fact that that was Belichick's doing. I don't think that's like an organizational thing that they had in place. I think that Belichick was just that good at bringing out the best in players, where you could find the diamonds in the rough.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Hopefully that kind of the air in that culture kind of just stayed like Taco
the
Bell
fog lingered a little bit.
Yeah, like a Taco Bell fog in a basement. Like it never goes away. Like it's there forever. You can't air it out. It's never leaving. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm not too sold that that's the case. I honestly think they're just full on in rebuild mode, and they're gonna a new player they can get draft picks for. They're gonna get rid of them and just stock up on those trade picks.
Yeah, and
I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and but this was a great pickup for New England to get a third round pick for this guy. I mean that's good. You got a day 2 pick next year for a guy coming off an injury, and he's 32. That's I mean, hey, you know what? You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. And if you're New England, you throw a parade because I honestly feel like they got the best that they could possibly get out of this.
The player that they were trying to make a push for was Brian Burns, by the way. I had to look it up, but they were part of the Brian Burns trades. And
didn't Burns go to the Giants?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the Panthers got a second round pick for him. So I'm guessing that's why they ended up going with a third round pick. The price was too high for the Falcons to send a second round pick. So a third round pick's a happy median.
Yeah, which is so strange because that Brian Burns trade, Carolina got fleeced in that. You get a second round pick for one of the top defensive ends in the league, and then you go ahead but the strange part about that is Carolina got fleeced. I feel like Atlanta paid a fair price, but New England got well above probably what they should have gotten. It's all very convoluted because I feel like the price
very intertwined.
It is intertwined, and I think it's just the eye of the beholder, kind of how you're looking at it from every angle. The Giants got a great deal. The Patriots got a great return. We'll see about the Falcons, and Carolina's a mess. So we'll just we can just all leave it at that.
Long story short, that's where we come to.
But speaking of first-year head coaches, we got 8 to talk about. 8.
8?
8.
Let me look at this list.
And not
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8.
Not just guys that have. This is the first time ever. Not like Mike McDonald's or Dave Canalis's. No, we're talking about even Jim Harbaugh and Raheem Morris and Dan Quinn getting a shot with. So
first year head coaches in their respective
for this season. Yeah.
So on that note, we wanted to talk about what our expectations are, or who we have the best expectations for this year. And let me be clear. This doesn't mean future of that coach within the organization. I want to talk about who we think will have the most success this year, 2024-2025 season, as a first-year head coach. Do you have your Do you have a preferred pick, or is it close between a couple of them? What are your expectations out of them?
Um, I'm excited to see what happens in Vegas. I'm really excited to see what Antonio Pierce does. How that Raiders team responded to him in the second half of last season, while AP was the interim, is very, very promising. And just
Mm-hmm.
even the development of Aiden O'Connell behind center was extremely promising. And so
Mm-hmm.
being able to see Antonio Pierce have a full offseason with his guys, being able to develop these dudes, and then I mean AP's a defensive guy through and through. They shored up that defensive line. That
They
defensive
did.
trench is shored up and they're ready to play. And their O line was already pretty good. And so, at least from what I remember, um, but
So who do you? So is that you? Is that who you're leaning towards, respectively? I mean, I get using your words in the eyes of the beholder. I guess who's going to have the most successful season this year?
the most successful
Pierce?
season, I would say, AP. I would say the
Hmm.
Raiders have have the more successful season, and I think it's because of the advantage they have of being able to transition to how AP was from the middle of last season. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if there's the guy coming fresh in, who I think could actually have a pretty decent season, um, I could see Mike McDonald doing that in Seattle. All those
Okay.
pieces are back. The only question mark is um, is how Geno
The
Smith is going
quarterback.
to do. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Geno Smith's going to do. I mean, he had a decent season last year. It was a drop off of the year prior because that was when Canales left. Dave Canales was the one that was the quarterbacks coach in Seattle, revived
Yeah.
Geno's career. He leaves, he goes to Tampa, he revives Baker's career, and now he's in
Mm-hmm.
Carolina, who we'll talk about in a second. But
Yep.
I can see Seattle kind of enjoying because Seattle never is really out of it ever. Seattle at the end of the season, Seattle's always clutching and clawing to get that last playoff spot. They always seem to be a problem to any team trying to get in. They'll play spoiler and victor at the same time. Um, I'm really interested to see how Mike McDonald kind of responds to this first year as head coach. I mean, he's replacing arguably the most legendary coach in Seattle history.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see how the locker room responds.
Yeah.
He can't have less energy than a 72-year-old Pete Carroll, but Pete Carroll was drinking the blood of infants before pregame just to stay youthful and wrinkle free. So I
Yeah.
just we'll see how he responds. Who do you see as someone who's gonna kind of like who are you excited to see? Who do you think is gonna have the most success?
So I think um, the for this year the most success. I know you're gonna love this. Honestly, I think it's gonna be Morris. Raheem Morris in Atlanta. I think is gonna have the most successful season for a few reasons. One, he's a defensive coach, so he'll be able to build up a defense that was struggling last year. So he's the right person to build up a defense from scratch. Secondly, the offense was more about execution and play calling last year or the last few years, and that was a testament to the head coach. If he has a good offensive coordinator in place with the pieces that they have there, I think they can easily be successful and explosive.
Yeah.
And my third reason, actually, I just blanked on my third reason, but I thought I had three reasons, but mostly those are the two reasons that I feel the strongest about Morris because of the explosiveness that the offense. I guess I should say potential for the explosiveness that the offense had last year, and then him being able to build up that defense from scratch. Really, oh, and the third one was just the weakness of the division. Just almost by default, it feels like they're gonna be in the in the playoff hunt the entire season, just because the rest of the division is so much. I'm not gonna call it a weak division necessarily, but they're all pretty close to each other. It's gonna be a competitive and
NFC
not in a
South.
Yeah,
It's always a weak
they're
division. You can call it weak. Yeah, I've been a Saints fan my entire life. Ever since they transitioned to these four divisions and San Francisco and Arizona left the NFC West. Well, I should say since the Saints and the Falcons left the NFC West to be
okay.
part of the NFC South, which never made any sense to me whatsoever. Playing the Rams, the Cardinals, and the Niners twice a year was so incredibly stupid. But
No,
since they left, it's always, and there were a few years there where the Saints kind of reigned supreme, and even the Falcons reigned supreme.
no
And the
Falcons.
Cam Newton days, the Panthers were always up there. But the last 5 or so years, this has been a mid division. It's been a real
but
mid division.
But nobody is necessarily falling behind in that division. I might want to use those words cautiously.
I mean,
but,
you're not very high on Carolina. Neither one of us are.
That's why
So.
we can't forget that Carolina's still in that division. But all the teams seem to be moving forward at the equal pace. This isn't a division where one team is like, oh, yeah, they're just a couple pieces away and they're going to be a 12, 13 win team. And then everybody else is going to be fighting for a division, like for a wild card. We're not even close to there. It just they're very close to each other when it comes to skill level and competitiveness. So
yeah,
I think for that reason, and because it's not an us, the bars isn't too high to hurdle, I think Morris will actually be in the best position to even win the division for year one, which is, I don't think I'm being outrageous by saying that, but I think he has
you're not.
possibly
No.
if I have to sit down and look at the first year head coaches, I think out of all of them, he has the best shot at winning the division. I don't see who else could as far as first year coaches.
No, and like I said at the top, like this team is built to win now. So
Yep.
you go out, you pay $90 million you guarantee $90 million to a quarterback who is the greatest player agent of all time. You guarantee $90 million to this guy with the sole intent that he's going to take you to the promised land. And
Yep.
it's not as in, Atlanta, like I said, Atlanta's set up to succeed. They're very well set up to succeed on the offensive side of the ball. We'll see and like you said earlier, Raheem Morris is a defensive guy. We'll see what he does with the young guys Atlanta took in this past draft. How Judon responds in this new environment, how he responds post injury. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Raheem Morris experiences the most success out of every first year head coach from this season at the end of the year. Like I wouldn't be surprised one bit. Not at all. So,
now we're speaking long term, that's a whole nother story. And I don't necessarily want us to dive into that right now, but I do have to notice that as much as the hype has been around Jim Harbaugh, neither one of us even considered him at the top. I feel like we're on the same page as far as why, but I would love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah,
without assuming.
I mean, Jim Harbaugh's done nothing but win everywhere he's gone. When he was at San Diego, was it University of San Diego?
Oh,
and when he was at University of San Diego, he turned that program around. He went to Stanford, turned that program around. He went to San Francisco, turned that program around. Went to Michigan, completely changed the culture back to a winning football program. And then now
call it winning, some people call it cheating. We'll leave that for another.
Whatever. This is so stupid. I mean, like the NCAA. I'm gonna get on my soapbox here for a second. The NCAA is treating Jim Harbaugh like the NCAA is the ex-girlfriend who's going to the gym, get a new haircut, and you're thinking, oh, now they're definitely going to notice I'm not with him anymore. No, okay, he's gone. Let him go. Just let the man be. But my point being, and now he's in LA, he's with the Chargers. There's nothing there for me to actually suspect or expect he's going to do anything but turn this program around. And
but my question is, why isn't he at the top of your list for first year success this year?
Because of all the turnover that he's done with the player personnel. Like he got rid of the entire wide receiver room. It's gone. They got new running backs. They got new receivers. I mean, this entire team looks different. It's different, and for good reason. I mean, for good reason, for bad reason, whatever it is. Jim Harbaugh is doing what he can to change the culture, and it's not as if he's walked into every clubhouse, every uh, every locker room, and as overnight, oh, these teams have become successes. It took a minute for Michigan to get there. It took a couple years for San Francisco to get there. I mean, they had some good bones already, but it's going to take some time. It won't take. I don't think it'll take a lot of time, but it's going to take some time. And they're in a division now where they're in a Division One that is going to probably be won by Kansas City. A close second is going to be Vegas, and you're also in a conference where it's hard. It's hard to be able to get that wild card. Like you can't. It's not like the NFC where you can get 7, 8, 9 wins. Oh, look, I'm a playoff team. No, you have to fight for it in the AFC. You have to.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be any different this year. It's not. And so it's not it but and I think Harbaugh understands this. He sees he's looking at the real estate. He sees what's going on. And he's like, okay, if there's ever time for me to hit reset, it's now. I'm hitting the reset button. I'm hitting the Staples easy button, and I'm doing it now. And we're gonna start over. So by next year, maybe by year 3, is when everything will be solid. And Jim Harbaugh, but the beauty of Jim Harbaugh is he can afford this time. Jim Harbaugh has the pedigree. He has the resume to be able to sit there and say, all right, LA, give me some time. I'm going to need time. And because if Jim Harbaugh says, give me time, you give him the time to be able to turn that whole culture around, change it.
Yeah.
To where it's consistent, not just like, oh, maybe we'll do well this year. We'll definitely do well this year, but then you don't. He's making this a consistent culture here.
Yeah. And you just get the feeling that the organization, just because of the fact that he decided to jump ship from the NCAA to the NFL, that they were bought in on the whole principle of this is going to take a while to build into something. And you can just sense that the organization, just because of how much background silence there is between the Chargers, there's not this whole storylines of expectations. Like there's just a lot of quiet noise coming from the organization, which gives you the feeling that they understand what they're getting in for and that they're willing to be patient with him. And his contract just lines up well for him to be successful.
Yeah. Nice with the mute button before you sneezed. Nice.
Yeah, so his contract allows for them to be able to be patient with him ultimately, and it from the Chargers, and this is why I said we're not going to dive into long-term success of the first-year coaches this year, because if we had that conversation, it would be a quick conversation. We would both say Jim Harbaugh.
Absolutely. Our answers would be completely different. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I didn't want to jump into that.
Yeah.
But my point being is that for that same reason, I feel like with the Chargers, the next 2 to 3 years, regular season and even off season, are going to be some of the most not exciting years for the Chargers fan base, because Jim Harbaugh is going to know what he's building, and it's not going to be flashy signings, and it's not going to be big name signings. At least from what the feeling that I get, it's going to be a lot of linemen, a lot of running back development, a lot of like trench building, which is never flashy for the fans that are watching and expecting big names to come to the organization. So that would be my expectation out of the organization would be, don't expect to be the organization, the team that's bringing in all these names and creating this big fuss behind any move they make. It's just not going to be that's not going to be the way that they operate for the next 2-3 years. I would say safely 3 years.
Yeah. Who's the head coach you think is going to have the least success this year?
The least success.
Yeah.
I want to lean towards Brian Callahan with the Titans.
Okay.
Because it just doesn't seem like he has a whole lot to work with this year. Mm-hmm. There's not too many flashy pieces. We don't know what their quarterback is going to look like, how he's gonna play. Like, there's just a whole lot of maybes, uncertainty behind the organization. So I just don't think they have a lot to get traction with, at least this year. I don't know about the future.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you?
I don't know. I can kind of see, and this is a tough one because, and like we said, this is not about, this isn't about what we're going to see from the long haul with these guys, but probably the guy that's going to experience the least amount of success is probably Dave Canales. I'm excited, and I've hyped up Canales' ability to be a quarterback whisperer, and I cannot wait to see the steps that he takes with, the steps that Bryce Young takes with Canales in his corner, being able to see. But Carolina is just synonymous with just inept football. And
Right.
if anything from last year is an indication of what we're going to see this year, he'd do wonders with Bryce Young. That offensive line could end up improving. I mean, it can't do anything but improve. It was one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL
the bar is
last year.
very low for improvement.
So, I mean, hopefully all you see is improvement there, but I can see Canales experiencing the least amount of success this year. The least amount.
The more we think, the more I talk about it, for the same reasons that we just stated for the other two coaches. I feel like in New England, Jared Mayo might be in the conversation for one of the. If we're sticking to just record wise, I feel like he might have the worst record out of all of them this year.
He's my second rated guy. Yeah, he's my second rated guy to be like the least, like to have the least amount of success.
Right. Second lowest. Yeah. So he would have to be. There's nothing there, and it was underreported, but it's still a fact. They cut Juju Smith-Schuster, which is not a flashy like receiver by any means. He lost a lot of the hype behind him since the moment he left the Steelers team. But they're cutting all the big players that they have. There's nothing there for him to, nothing there for them to really build on, and there's not really going to be anything that you can really latch your horse onto and say this is why we're winning games by any means. Maybe Brissett has enough to still sneak a couple wins just because of his the fact that he has so much experience. He's been in the league for a few years now. I think he's been in the league for 5-6 years now, I want to say. So he has experience to, maybe steal a couple like last minute wins because he has that ability to not collapse under pressure at this point. But besides that, if I had to reconsider, I would have to say the Patriots are very close to the bottom of where my expectations would be for any of those guys.
Brissett's been in the league this will be his 8th year. Dang. No, and then to go back to your Brian Callahan pick, I could see Callahan maybe doing well enough. I mean, not well. I mean, he'll be there next year too. But you have Will Levis, who has a lot of promise. They have their wide receiver room on paper is loaded. You got DeAndre, you got Treylon Burks, you got Calvin Ridley now, and so and then their offensive line wasn't the best, but they've gone out. They signed Lloyd. I think they signed Lloyd Cushenberry, like one of the top centers in the game. They signed him away from Denver. And then you have Peter Skoronski, their first-round pick from 2013, to play, I think, left tackle. And then they drafted Latham from Alabama to play left guard. They're really doing what they can to shore up the strong side for Will Levis. And so,
but I don't think it'll show this year.
I'm not saying it's going to show this year. What I'm saying is that the reason he's not at my bottom, he's my mid. is because of just what that organization is doing, how that organization kind of just builds that team, and it looks like they're slowly doing some things to help Will Levis out to be able to help him succeed, and at the very least to see if he's even the quarterback of the future in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. But
Mhm.
I agree with you. Gerard Mayo is at the bottom for me. But Dave Canales is just way at the bottom not because of him. I'm excited to see what he does with Bryce Young, but more because the inept football that Carolina has played and just the ineptitude that they've run that organization with. It's going to be interesting to see what Dan Morgan does from the front office, to see what he does to strengthen that team. I don't know, but
Last question, and then we can wrap this segment up. Do you think any of these coaches run the risk of losing their job after 1 year?
Maybe Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn. Whoa.
And
Interesting.
I only say that because I don't believe Dan was their first choice. So they went out, they hired Dan Quinn, then they hired Adam Peters. I wonder, I don't know what that relationship is like. I don't know how well they bonded. But if you bring in your new front office after you hire your new head coach, and then you draft your quarterback of the future, I could see there could be some young, hot coordinator out there, somebody from the McVay tree, even somebody from Dan Campbell's tree who could stand out and be like, hey, maybe we want to give this guy a shot. So I'm not saying he's going to lose his job, but if there's anybody from this list, I'd say Dan Quinn, and then I would also say Raheem Morris, because Raheem Morris is set up for success right now. He's the only one not really going to a rebuilding team. Raheem Morris is going to a team because they fired their head coach because he was just awful. His dad may have found at FedEx, but Arthur Smith could not deliver anything. And so Raheem Morris is there. He's in a situation, and I believe that they probably, Arthur Smith wanted to bring him in because they wanted an established guy who's been in the league, who has done this before. He is a retread. He's done this before, but he's being brought into a team that should perform really well. And his strength is on the defense. They're hoping he can strengthen those rookies, get something out of Judon. We'll see what happens. But if the Falcons don't win this division this season, which is extremely winnable, by the way, I'm a Saints fan. I'm sitting there telling you, Atlanta, you have every shot and no reason not to win this division. Then Raheem Morris is gone. He's got to be gone. Because I said, you guaranteed $90 million to a guy only for the next 2 years. He's in that locker room for up to 4 years, but he's $90 million guaranteed for the first 2. So you're going to have to. I think he's under the most pressure.
Interesting. See, I think because of the Kirk Cousins signing and the fact that they pretty much have him for 2 years, that's really what it breaks down to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he has a 2-year leash because he does whatever this year. Sure, he's establishing, but then next year, if they still continue to not perform based off of what the roster reflects they should be performing, I feel like then that's when probably Kirk Cousins would be gone, and then in hand Morris would be gone, and they'll bring in a coach to kind of bring in Penix. That's how I don't think I would lean towards Morris being on a short leash this year. The guy that I would put the shortest leash on, if I don't think this would happen, but if I had to choose a guy that would possibly get fired this year, would be Canales from the Panthers, just because the bar is so. Yes.
Oh no.
Because the bar is so low. If Bryce Young doesn't look any better, and the bars look low for him to look better, why would they keep him if he looks the same as last year? And there's no reason if you're bringing him in as the quarterback guru that he's portrayed himself to be, and it's not working with Bryce Young, then what is the point of having him there? And not only that, the organization itself has shown that they don't have patience to keep head coaches around.
Well,
So,
and you know what? I can see your point, but I'm going to counter because of the 2 points you just made. So I'm going to go back to Atlanta. So Raheem Morris, I can say, I would argue that it's because of those guaranteed first 2 years for Cousins that if Morris does not deliver, then yeah, I mean, Arthur Smith wants to win now. Arthur Smith does not care. Arthur Smith was the guy who said draft Penix. We signed Cousins to 2 years, guaranteed him all his money. Sign Penix now, or draft Penix now. If Raheem Morris does not deliver this season, if they don't, if the Falcons do not at least win the division, I will go out here and say Raheem Morris is gone. For Dave Canales, the bar is set so low, not because they hired Canales, but because it's Carolina. And
right.
and Carolina's already trained. They changed their entire front office structure. The entire thing. They got rid of every usable piece that they could. Every piece. From McCaffrey to Brian Burns, they've gotten rid of them. And now Dan Morgan's running the show. Dave Canales was brought in to help develop Bryce Young, or help Bryce Young develop into the guy that I believe he can be. And I can almost sit there. I will guarantee this. I will guarantee more that Dave Canales is that Bryce Young will show so much improvement this year. Then I will guarantee that more than Raheem Morris getting fired. But that's just because we've already seen what Canales can do. If he can revive Geno Smith's career, if he can revive Baker Mayfield's career, he damn sure can do it with Bryce Young. If Bryce, and here I'll go even a bit further. If Bryce Young does not develop, if there are not just these these strides well above and beyond the low bar already set for Bryce Young from last season, I'm going to say that's more on Bryce Young's ability to be a starting quarterback in this league than it is for Dave Canales.
That's fair. That's a fair way to put it. Either way, I think when heads roll, they're not going to cut or trade their first overall pick after they traded so much to get it. So the next head roll would be the head
because
coach.
Carolina is going to be in a position to probably draft first overall again.
Right.
And so they're going to...
If they own their pick this year, I'm not tracking if they do or don't.
Let me see. I think
they traded away this year's first round too. But if they do own their pick, then I understand where you're coming from, because then you really have to assess with 2, possibly 3 years left with Bryce Young if you really want to keep him.
Okay.
That would.
It looks like they own their pick for this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, well, for 2025, I can almost like it would be. Let me see. I'm still looking. If the Panthers do in fact own their first round pick, and Bryce Young does not show strides of being a future guy for that team, I could see Bryce Young being out of it, and Bryce Young being out of there, and then so they have their own first round pick, they have the Rams second round pick, they have a third round pick, a fourth, a fifth, another fifth, a sixth, and 3 sevenths. So if Bryce Young does not perform, Canales should keep his job, and they should go out and they should go draft another quarterback.
Interesting. That's quite the take. We'll have to leave it on that, because I think we could dive into this conversation and what that future would look like or not look like for a longer discussion. JB, it is time for everybody's second favorite segment. Right after the Fix of 6. It is time for us to build our Mount Rushmores.
Yeah.
Shall you go first?
I'll go first. I will go first, sir.
Let me spin the wheel for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
What is your number, JB?
I will go with number 27.
27 gets you the Ravens.
The Baltimore Ravens.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, I got him. Okay.
Okay.
And one of these picks is going to surprise you because they're like, what? You picked this position group to be on
Alignment.
the Mount Rushmore? No, you're gonna hate me because I'm
Okay.
about to pick a lineman. But I'm gonna
I
go
was
with
ready for it.
Ray Lewis. I'm gonna go with Ed Reed. I'm gonna go with Jonathan Ogden, and I'm gonna go with. Here's where you're gonna love me. I'm gonna go with Jamal Lewis, the running back. So you always get on me because I'm always like, oh, you always go with the running back. Jamal Lewis is arguably the greatest running back in Ravens history. Jonathan Ogden is one of the greatest offensive linemen to ever play the game. Ray Lewis needs no introduction whatsoever, and neither does Ed Reed. Those are four solid picks to be on a Mount Rushmore for the Ravens. And it's not none of these guys even play anymore. 3 of them in the Hall of Fame. Jamal Lewis is well on his way to be in the Hall of Fame. Well on his way. So those are my 4.
Ray Lewis, if for those of you keeping tabs, is now officially on 2 Mount Rushmores, which is the first player to be on 2 Mount Rushmores of 2 different teams. It's on the Jets when I built it, and then you with the. Did I just say Ray Lewis?
You didn't say Ray Lewis.
I said Revis, right? I don't know why my brain felt like
You
I
said
said
Darrell
Lewis.
Revis.
Yeah.
Yeah, you didn't say Ray
Okay.
Lewis. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think you did.
Good.
If you did, that makes my
I hope-
Roman Gabriel pick a lot better. Because none of us were alive when Roman Gabriel played.
No. I meant Revis. If I misspoke, I meant Revis is on 2 Mount Rushmores.
I don't think. No, you said Darrell Revis. So yeah.
Okay, good. My brain just felt like you know those moments where you feel like you misspoke as your brain thinks back of what you're saying. Anyways, no complaints. Maybe now that Derrick Henry is there, the conversation for the greatest running back in Ravens history is going to be arguable after this season. But that is a discussion for future episodes, not necessarily for this one. So not bad.
I almost had a Ray Rice joke, but I'm going to reserve it for myself. So, yeah. I don't need the snowflakes of TikTok sitting there censoring our videos because
you don't need we don't need to get more banned.
My word.
More banned than we already are.
What a bunch of weak-minded individuals they are.
Did you even consider Lamar Jackson yet?
He hasn't. He's led the Ravens to playoffs. He's an electrifying player, but I need to see more in the playoffs before I can do that. I could have said Joe Flacco, but the 4 I went with are the ones that I just like. When you think about the Baltimore Ravens, you think about the hard-nosed play of the players. And not that Lamar Jackson doesn't exemplify that, but if we're doing a Mount Rushmore of all time, those 4, they played balls out.
And I'm just saying, did it cross your mind as an honorable, even close to an honorable mention at this point in his career already?
Probably a little the level right below honorable mention. Just because he's still playing, there's still more. I'm sure there's plenty of Raven fans I'd like to see more from Lamar Jackson. Plenty.
That's true.
So
okay.
If I was to pick Jackson, it would be recency bias.
I love recency bias. That's my favorite bias out of all the biases.
That's because you're 13. Yeah. So.
All right. Moving on to mine. Let's spin the wheel for me. JB, my number is 18.
Your team? is the Atlanta Dirty Birds.
Oh, way to bring it back full circle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I got them. I think I got my picks. Number one would be the one and only Mike Vick.
Michael
Maybe
Vick.
even
Okay.
controversial. Michael Vick, number one. I
Renowned
don't know if
dog
there's
owner. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did own a couple of dogs in his life, but he also was the first to revitalize the quarterback position to what it has become now.
Hey, I still remember when they
uh,
upset the Packers in that playoff game, man. That was awesome. So
yeah,
that was pretty cool.
yeah. I mean, yeah. There's people still to this day that they wish Mike Vick in the 2004 Madden was a thing. So, number two, Julio Jones.
Okay.
Number three, his counterpart Matt Ryan. I think those
Okay.
two, even though they didn't win a Super Bowl, they were there and they made the organization relevant. And number four,
You were
Deion
not gonna
Sanders. That one's
Deion Sanders. Ugh, it's
yes.
gross.
What?
It's gross.
You better watch yourself. If you want to get banned again, this one would be justifiable. I'll be the first one with the pitchfork on the banning of JB on TikTok.
Okay, so I would say, let me ask you this. Where was Tommy Nobis on this list? Mr. Falcon
It was
himself.
probably between him and Matt Ryan. If I had to say it was close, if I had to drop one out to put him in, I'd probably have to consider dropping Matt Ryan to put him in there.
What about Jamal Anderson?
No, the argument has to be who do you take out?
Michael Vick.
And I don't know who I would.
Again, I went against recency bias, okay? You did not. All right? Children, if you're doing a paper on recency bias, this is a great social experiment to take from and to write a paper on recency bias.
You could make the argument for recency bias. I was also 8 when Michael Vick was at his prime, so it's not like I have too much of a recency bias when it comes to Mike Vick. So
I was 18. Okay,
yeah,
we're close,
exactly,
same age, pretty much.
Just about. There you go. Let's run through these schedules, JB.
Let's do it.
Respective teams.
Let's do it.
This up. You ready for yours?
I am ready. Get ready.
Where is your team? Let me find. Where's the Ravens schedule? Baltimore. Here we are. Ready?
I'm
Week
ready.
1. They kick off. Week 1. Oh, they host they visit the Chiefs for the home opener. I forgot about that.
Okay. L.
Okay. Week 2, they host the Raiders.
L.
Week 3, they visit the Cowboys.
At Dallas. W.
Week 4, they host the Bills.
Ooh. W.
Week 5, they visit the Bengals.
At the Who Days.
Mm-hmm.
W.
Week 6, they host the Commanders.
W.
Week 7, they visit the Buccaneers.
I'm gonna say L.
Whoa.
Yeah, that'll be my upset.
Week 8, they visit the Browns.
W.
Week 9, they host the Broncos.
W.
Week 10, they host the Bengals.
Ooh, they host Cincy this time. L. I think they'll do a reverse split here.
Interesting. So they're 6-4.
Yeah.
after week 10. Week 11, they visit the Steelers.
W.
Week 12, they visit the Chargers.
They go to LA
Yes.
because it's a sibling rivalry. I'm gonna give Jim the victory here.
Oh, so an L for the Ravens, huh?
An L for the Ravens.
Week 13, they host the Eagles.
W.
Week 14 is a bye week. It's a
Okay.
really late bye week.
It was really late.
Week 15, they visit the Giants.
At the G-Men, W. Giants might go 0-6, 0-17 this year. Yeah.
Week 16, they host the Steelers.
I'll go W for them again. Yeah, they'll sweep that season series.
Week 17, they visit Houston.
At Houston,
Yes. A rematch of last year's playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm gonna give Baltimore the L.
Okay. And then week 18, they host the Browns.
I'm gonna give them the W there. So they'll sweep Cleveland. 1,
Yep.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11-6. Or 11-7.
Ooh. 11-7.
11-6. There we go. Yeah.
Wait.
11-6. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's a Baltimore record.
I would expect at least the consideration for 2 more wins for them, honestly.
2 more wins. Ugh.
Mhm.
No. We'll see.
I would expect 2 more, at least 2 more wins. 1.5, it would be. I would put them at needing to have 13 wins, maybe 12. I could get with.
Okay.
All right, my turn.
All right. Yours is Atlanta.
Yes.
Week 1, host Pitt.
Host the Pit.
Yeah.
Lost to Atlanta.
Okay. Week 2, at Philly.
Lost for Atlanta.
Okay. Week 3, host KC.
L.
Wait, did you say they would beat Philly?
No,
They're
they're
gonna
0-3 right now.
They're gonna lose to Philly. Okay. All right. Week 4. Get this right. They host the Saints.
The Saints. This is probably where they get their first win. I'll give them the win on that.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Week 5, host Tampa.
Win.
Or win. Week 6, they're at Carolina.
Win.
Week 8, they host Seattle. Week 7, they host Seattle.
Loss. They host Seattle.
Yeah.
Let me change that to a win.
Okay.
If it was in Seattle, I might change my mind.
Week 8, they're at Tampa.
Loss.
Okay. Week 9, they host Dallas.
Loss.
Okay. Of course. Week 10, they go to the real Superdome.
A team other than the Saints is what I'm waiting for.
No, it's the Saints. Yeah.
Oh, the real Super. Oh, I thought.
Yeah, the real
no.
Superdome. Yeah.
Oh no! See, I expect the real Superdome to be somewhere else.
No, because Atlanta has
No.
the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. So,
You're taking jabs at
yeah.
Okay. The Saints will win. L for the Falcons.
Nice. Week 11, they are at Denver.
Win.
Okay. Week 12, they have their bye. Week 13, they host the Chargers.
Loss.
Okay. Week 14, they are at Minnesota.
Win.
Okay. Week 15, they are at Vegas.
Win.
Okay. Week 16, they host the Giants.
Win.
Okay. Week 17, they are at Washington.
This is my sneaky upset. I'll say a loss for Atlanta.
Okay. And they end the season hosting Carolina.
Oh, they'll end the season on a good note.
Okay,
They'll
1,
win.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 and 8.
Okay. Yeah, that's a division winning record right
And
there. If I've ever
honestly,
seen
that is 2 more wins that it's going to take to win the division. So someone's going to win the NFC South at 7 and 10. Okay, just mark my words. This division sucks. All right, it's god awful. It's just the
You
worst.
heard it here first from a Saints fan himself.
I'm a realist through and through, man. I have as many educated wishes as anybody, but this is this division is awful. I'm hoping.
Okay.
I wish well the Saints every season, but this charade's gone on long enough. Just be bad enough. Be the worst team in the league. Sell off at
Fire the coach.
at the
I don't.
trade
By the way,
deadline.
I don't believe in your coach. Just so you know, I
No
don't
one
believe in
does.
him one bit.
Nobody believes
No.
in him because he's not Sean Payton.
No.
He's not Juicy Fruit himself.
That's not why.
Okay, so yeah, that wraps up our NFL segment. Let's get to the MLB portion.
Baseball.
Let's get to the best sport.
Whoa.
Yeah, I said it. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You don't mean it, but you did say it.
TikTok can ban me for the 8th time. So news dropped today that MLB is discussing a plan to have starting pitchers pitch a minimum of 6 innings. Now, before you answer this, there are stipulations. Okay.
No.
They said a starter
Hit me.
can be pulled before the 6th inning if for 3 reasons. 1, if they reach 100 pitches, which is so lame.
100 pitches in 6 innings in 5, I guess.
It's just a snowflake generation thing to think about. Or 2, if the starter has given up 4 or more runs by the 6th inning. And then 3, if the pitcher gets hurt, but if you remove the pitcher for an injury, he has to go to the IL. He has to.
Whoa.
So you can't just sit
I
there.
don't like that.
Hey, you don't like it at all?
The IL thing? No, I don't like that at all.
Well, if you're going to say he's hurt, I mean,
Yeah, but not every injury requires an IL designation. That's a little extreme. That's
well,
I
just
like
remember
the
for pitchers, I think it's 10 days because they don't play every day.
That's
So-
fine either way. I don't.
So they miss 2 starts, essentially.
IL designation is IL designation. This seems like a little extreme for pulling out a pitcher for some sort of soreness or something going on with them.
Yeah.
I liked one of the 3.
Let me guess.
I can get behind
It was the second one, giving up 4 more runs.
No. I mean, in
100 pitches is what you
I
support?
would have to look at the. Well, here's the thing.
You're such a
I would have to look at history. Historically, I can't imagine that happening too often. So if a pitcher at 6 innings hits 100 pitches,
It happens
pitching
more
a
often
lot.
than you think. So,
100 pitches by the 6th,
yeah.
pitchers don't even pitch 100 pitches overall.
So it happens more often than you might think. It doesn't happen that much. I don't presume, but it happens more. I mean, I've seen it several times where a pitcher has hit 100 by the end of the 5th.
I would say, yeah, I could get behind pulling him. I would understand why you would pull him at that point. If you're pitching 100 pitches by the 5th, 6th inning, you're pitching a lot. And obviously, if you're not getting, results out of it, you just don't have it that day at 100 pitches. That's my reasoning, my thought process.
So here's my thing. I the only one I agree with, well, there's 2 I agree with, is the second and the third one. I've always hated this arbitrary 100 pitch limit. Oh, you're a grown man. Let's treat you like a child. Oh, your arm must be tired. Go eat the burrito bar in the clubhouse and go play NCAA 25. It's absolutely asinine. It's such a snowflake generational thing to do. Oh, 100 pitches. Oh, your arm must be exhausted. Newsflash, a starting pitcher's arm begins to get exhausted by the 2nd or 3rd inning. So don't give me this crap that, oh, you're 100 pitches, now your arm's automatically exhausted. No, he's already tired. He's already gassed. So I agree with the second one.
JB, the point for that is not exhaustion. The point for the 100 pitches is preservation, not exhaustion.
Well, no, and
I'm sure when you
that's
ask
why
the pitcher,
pitchers are hurt. That's why pitchers are hurt because they're babied. They're babied.
we keep making it back to this same. I feel like we've talked about the pitchers and the pitch count so many times already, and we're never going to be on the same page.
And as long as I have breath in my lungs, we will. I will speak to everyone about this, and they will listen to me no more than my children listen to me. Okay, I will continue to repeat myself. Okay, because I'm a good father. I'm a good fan. This is why.
You do get a free soapbox on this podcast. So, yeah, you can continue to preach your sermons to nobody that cares or agrees with you.
But no, I agree with the 4-run thing because, hey, you're trying to keep your team in it, then, I mean, remove them. If they're hurt, then they're hurt, but they put them on the IL if they're hurt, okay?
I guess, so here's the thing. Here's the second, the 4-run thing I could get behind if they reworded it, because if they would say like a differential of 4 runs, then I could get behind it. But if you're like, let's just say it's a high offense kind of day and it's 4-3, really that's going to justify pulling a pitcher? I wouldn't necessarily think that.
Yeah, I mean, more often than not, if you get them about 4 runs by the 6th inning, you're losing that game. So,
well, nowadays nothing gets. My expectation for baseball games, the score nowadays is way higher than it used to be. Back a few years ago, even it was not atypical to see a 2-0 baseball game. Now it's like 5-4. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The differential would be where I would say I agree with it.
All right. Well, but now this is all just talk. This is most of the changes that have gone on in Major League Baseball the last couple of years, which most of them have been net positives. I still don't like the base runner starting at second in extra innings. I don't like that one. That's stupid. If you're going to do that, then just have ties. Just say the game can only go to 12 innings, okay? Then
I hate that rule.
We're good. Because it changes in the playoffs. You can't have it in the playoffs, so why are we doing it in the regular season? Because the regular season dictates the playoffs. I don't know if the geniuses at MLB know this, but you make the playoffs if you have more wins than your opponent. And so if you give everyone this advantage in the regular season, but you take it away in the playoffs, what was the point?
Yes.
This will start in the Atlantic League and the Independent League, like it always does. Every rule change is started in the Independent League. Then it's gone through the minor leagues. So we are probably
3 years
away from this being implemented. So
if it
ever comes, but it's a rumor. It was whispers that was reported, which now eventually will actually turn into a practical rollout plan.
See, and I don't think so. I don't think it actually turned into anything, personally.
No, I honestly do, because this has been a talk for quite some time now, because the original idea, and I like the original idea better. When they first implemented the universal DH, they were trying to figure out a way to increase the starting pitching usage. And they said that the moment you start, we'll do universal DH, but if you pull your starting pitcher, then your DH goes and your pitcher has to hit. I always liked that one. I liked that one. I really did.
I hate that.
So, but I'm a traditional fan. I don't need I don't need a bunch of homers, a barrage of homers. I don't need 30 JD Martinez's out there on their last leg hitting bombs every other day because they're like, oh, my knee's fatigued. So I like that idea. That's never going to happen because I don't think they'll ever pass the CBA. No. But this is coming in line with the CBA, even though Major League Baseball has, I believe they have the advantage of being able to implement any rule that they want to at any moment. So we'll see what happens. I like the idea that they're talking about it. I do. I grew up in a time where pitchers went 7-8 innings. I'll give it a time where a guy named Mark Burley had an ERA above 4 on a regular seasonal basis, and he pitched over 200 innings a season. So I don't want to hear, oh, my arm hurts. Oh, it's weak right now. I gotta go sit down. I gotta go eat my chalupas. I don't want to hear that. So
With your obsession with chalupas.
I don't know, because they're delicious. I don't know. It's the only thing I can relate to them on. So is there opining for
At
Mexican
least give
food?
them like the boiled peanuts or sunflower seeds of the baseball world. Chalupas is like a weird thing to latch onto, but I digress. Go
It's
ahead.
delicious. So, but my but no, so we'll see. And they said the part of this is to be able to, get over the whole the whole like consistently pitchers thinking they have to throw hard, but being able to use their whole repertoire, and then pitchers, and this is going to challenge pitchers to have to face it in order a third time, which is a big no in Major League Baseball. Which is honestly, I think, is the big reason. If you're throwing 100 pitches, I think that's the official reason they're pulling people. The unofficial reason is a lot of these teams don't want their starters facing a lineup the third time. That's why.
Fair.
And so
Yeah.
if
Strategy wise,
if you're forced to have to, kind of reinvent your strategy here, you might want to get your pitchers thinking about their whole repertoire as opposed to throwing hard. And this is, in fact, supposed to have a side effect of pitchers getting hurt less because they're throwing less hard every game, or they're throwing less fast pitches. Which I mean, if you want them to not get hurt because they're throwing fast pitches, let them use sweat and rosin again. Stop freaking checking. The only one you got to check is Edwin Diaz, okay? Because he's clearly the only one trying to get away with this. All right, he's the only one you need to check.
Keep checking that.
And honestly, talking about guys trying to get away with something, Hunter Green has thrown up in his glove 4 times this season. 4 times. You can't tell me he's not throwing up. He's putting something in his glove to be able to use as a substance. This dude throws balls hard. Hey, Trigger.
What are you talking about? His throw up is a sign of him using some sort of substance? How does that even make sense?
No one is that sick. No one's throwing up. He doesn't have jitters anymore. He doesn't have
stage fright. Never goes away.
Well, he's pitching damn well for someone who has stage fright. So if he was Chuck Knobblocking it out there, having the yips, then yeah, maybe. But I just
find it hot take. You might want to check the man for some sort of use of controlled substances of sorts, or performance enhancing. That's the
dude's 6'7", 80 pounds. I don't think he's taking anything. So let's get to everyone's favorite segment, the Fix of 6.
Wait.
I'm saving it.
Okay.
I'm saving it.
You're gonna save.
I'm saving.
You're gonna save Judge for another day.
I'm saving it for Fix of 6. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to our Fix of 6 then, because JB can't wait for everyone's favorite segment. So let us jump right in to your Fix of 6. JB, you're up.
All right. JB's number 3 Fix of 6. Will Levis is releasing his own fragrance, and you won't believe it. You might not believe it, but it is mayonnaise scented. Manny, what are your thoughts? And would you ever buy a mayonnaise scented fragrance?
It is mayonnaise based. It is not mayonnaise scented. Correction. And I would totally.
Mayonnaise is gonna smell like it.
I would totally take at least a sample of it and see what the general society feels about my scent. I don't have anything against it. He's the mayo man. He's the mayo in your coffee guy.
He is the mayo in your coffee guy. Here's my thing: is he gonna call it eggs? Not axe, eggs. So a play on eggs, but it's a spritz like axe, eggs. Is he going to call it Spritz and Eggs? Is that what he's going to call it?
That'd be a good one.
That would be green eggs and ham in it. That would be a good one. I'm a
I
big
don't know
fan
what
of,
the name is, but
I'm a big
curious.
fan of green eggs and ham in it. Just laying it on there and just, hey, I'm here. JB's number 2 fix of 6. Aaron Judge is the fastest player ever to reach 300 homers
Yes, he is.
by a large margin, over 130 games. I think of 133 games to be exact. Ralph Kiner did it in 1,087 games. Aaron Judge did 955. Here's my question to you, Manny. Aaron Judge is 32. He'll be
He is.
33 at the beginning of next season. Assuming he'll hit 60 before the season's over. We have 6 weeks left. He's 17 short. Assuming he hits 60, this dude needs 455 more homers to tie Barry Bonds for the all-time home run record. Can he do it in 7 seasons? Now, before you shake your head, no, he only has to hit a meager average of 63 homers a season. So, can a 40-year-old Aaron Judge hit 63 and a half homers?
Well, if we start forcing starting pitchers to stay into the 6th inning, then maybe he can hit. Depleted pitchers might be throwing him just 80-mile-per-hour fastball down the middle, and he might. But no, I don't think so. Barry Bonds' record is just untouchable for whatever reasons or not you may have.
Yeah. And for those listening, I've already talked about this. I've grown. Let the man into the Hall of Fame. My God.
Yes.
JB's number 1 fix of 6. The Yankees cannot catch a break. Not only do they give the White Sox their first victory on a Monday all season. Good job, Yanks. Way to go. They also lose Jazz Chisholm for maybe the rest of the year. This is I think the 3rd trade deadline that they've traded for a guy, and he's out for the rest of the season. What is going on with the Yankees? What's going on in the Bronx that the guys they trade for just get hurt?
I mean, I don't understand that because they backed out of the pitchers trade because of the medical records. Did you not look at Chisholm's freaking medical? Like, something was there. You can't just randomly get hurt.
He was killing
2 weeks after you traded for him.
Destroyed himself. Yeah.
Ugh. Breaks my heart. The silver lining: Yankees still have the 2nd best record in the league. So
yeah,
there's something to it. Whether that's because of Chisholm's injection into the team's spirit, but whatever. Yeah, no. I have mixed feelings about the White Sox thing. It was like not even close. It was 11-3, I think, was the final score.
Not only did the Yankees give the White Sox their first Monday victory, they were the first team to lose by double digits to the White Sox this season.
Yeah, it was. And I texted you, JB. I texted you as the finals.
I know
the final score posted, and I don't remember exactly my words, but it was along the lines of
that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good.
Well, that's JB's fix of 6. Manny, hit us with yours.
On today's fix of 6, Manny's number 3 is going to be a little nostalgic, taking it back to the Olympics.
Oh, last
Team
week?
USA. Yes. Back in the good old days of the Olympics that happened a long time
Saturday.
ago. Yeah. Yesteryear's Olympics. The men's basketball team won gold. Yes, they did win gold, but they won gold on August 10th of 2024, which were Kobe's number 8 numbers, number 10 when he played for the Olympics team number, and his second number 24.
Nice.
Which begs the question, when are we going to make Kobe the logo of the league? We already know that the name behind the league is Kobe Bryant. Let me top this off with the cherry on top. Steph Curry finished with 8 threes in that game.
That's
you want to know what that total is?
That's 24
points. Cherry on top. Make Kobe the face of the league officially by putting him on the logo because this new generation needs something to get behind, and Jerry West is not going to cut it. I know that it is not historically appropriate to just replace one player with the other, but you're also one of the few leagues that has a player as the emblem for your organization, so you have to be a little flexible. So
Yeah.
that is Manny's number 3. Number 2, JJ McCarty is officially out for the year.
So sad.
Vikings sure know how to take care of their quarterbacks. He has a meniscus tear that will cause him to miss the entire season, which begs the question, why was he playing in the preseason? Topic for another day. But JJ McCarty is out, and we are rolling with Sam Darnold with the Minnesota Vikings QB number 1 in the 2024 season. And number 1, JB, I have a little surprise for you. This one you'll love because it'll hit right in your heart.
Mm.
So a member of the Nationals media determined that the Nationals had used 19 third basemen
Yeah, I've seen
since
this.
they lost Rendon. So a fellow Xer, a Twitter person, decided to do some research and figured out that the Angels have used 28 third basemen since they
It's
signed Anthony
ungodly.
Rendon.
I didn't even think that was mathematically possible. Like that is just I.
So he has been a
Oh,
detriment to
man.
the. We knew he was a detriment to the Angels. He hasn't played 100 games since he signed in 2019, but he has the Nationals have found more stability in the position that they lost him with than the Angels have since they signed him, which goes to show
Oh,
how
man.
much of a reliable, solid player Anthony Rendon is for the Angels Association. And that is Manny's 3 of your fix of 6.
To caveat on your 2 fix of 6s, 1, it's really easy to beat France because their greatest play is the breakaway because they run away so much. And then 2, what was your second one? What was your second fix
The
of 6?
Kobe?
No, your second fix of 6.
Oh, the JJ McCarty.
Yeah, so the JJ McCarthy, shout out to, they call me Aaron. He's a guy that's been chatting with us on TikTok. He's a Vikings fan. So I can't help but wonder what his thoughts were when he saw. Granted, JJ McCarthy wasn't supposed to play this year. Sam Darnold's supposed to play.
Supposedly.
But, it's JJ McCarthy, I just read before we got on. So supposedly he's the first round quarterback in the modern NFL day draft since 1967 to be out for his entire first year. The first round quarterback draft pick to be out. So we'll see what happens.
It leaves me a question because Michigan's offense was run heavy. So it makes me wonder if McCarty's body was just not really broken in to the point of taking a professional QB beating. Like
I don't
he will
know.
have to.
We'll see what happens. I honestly think McCarthy's going to be just fine in the NFL. He's going to be serviceable enough. But shout out to they call me Aaron. Sorry, bro. Sorry. But that does it for today's episode, guys.
Before we wrap things up, JB, I have to throw this out there.
Do it.
I have been getting some heat. I did know, and I do know that Michael Jordan got 2 repeats. Forgive my take when I randomly threw in the Mahomes to Michael Jordan comparison on TikTok when saying Mahomes would be the first to get a 3-peat. I don't know why I threw Michael Jordan into it. I was caught up in the sauce, I guess. My real point was the Tom Brady to Mahomes comparison. And let me tell you, you saw this. I had just been getting eaten alive in the comment section, acting like I don't respect Michael Jordan. I do love Michael Jordan. I don't think LeBron is better than Michael Jordan. And it was just a slip up. Just cut me some slack.
I woke up that day with the notification or 20 comments on our TikTok, and I was like, this cannot be good. We are being torn to shreds with something that no one ever comments and says, yes, I agree with you. That was a fantastic take. I knew we were getting destroyed. I was like, oh my God, what did I say? And then I went on and I was
Yep,
like,
it
oh,
was
it was
me.
Manny. It was
Yep, it was me.
Manny's turn this
It
time.
was me.
Oh, that was a relief. Guys, just
It
so you
was-
know, there's two people doing this pod. I'm JB. That's Manny. Okay, Manny's the one that said MJ's never done a three.
And I didn't mean it. That is the point. I didn't mean it.
I didn't mean it. I thought about MJ the whole time.
It
You sound
was
like a
always
cheating
about MJ.
spouse. I thought about him the whole time.
I had you in my mind the entire time, MJ.
But folks, that does it for us this week. Continue to follow us on Spotify, follow us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, follow Spotify, follow our content on TikTok and on Instagram. We still have a few slots left for our inaugural Box Scores and Bourbon Fantasy Football League. Hit us up if you want to join. We've been a podcast for 6 months maybe. We are brand baby spanking new. We have that fresh baby head smell still to us.
We do.
And anytime we make a mistake, it's just because we loaded the diaper. Don't be afraid to change us and join us in our fantasy football league. We want to make this an annual thing. Be able to honor not just you guys who listen, who follow, but also to those in the future who want to continue to listen and follow us. And until next time, folks, stay thirsty.
JB, review your drink. Did you like it? Enjoyable drink?
I did. It's Glimmerang, scotch. I love a scotch. This isn't nearly as peaty as I like it to be. It's not peaty at all, but it's a good scotch. Yeah, it's a good stick too. The Cloud Hopper is a good stick. Yeah,
Very good. I can't say I was too sold on the Simbole Nacional brandy. I've tried a brandy before. I will stick to XO brandy for sippers, but this was doable for now. And on that note, cheers, everyone. We'll see you on the other side.
stay thirsty, folks.